Well,
but
I'm
the
sorry to
next
hear
time
that.
I'll make sure I wear them the next podcast we do so I can just flash it.
I'm sure Demetrius would very much appreciate that, as well as the viewers.
I don't know, man. My eyesight is precious to me. As a pool player, I can't afford to go blind.
We can block you out of there somehow. Nate can edit you out for just a split second.
That's what we need to get. Demetrius, you need to get on that monster kick so we can get them sponsoring the show too.
I wanted to. Did I tell you I wanted them to make a pool cue where the points were the claws of the monster, and then the little monster logo at the bottom. I thought that would be the coolest cue ever made.
You would just ditch yours right away and just go straight to it?
Yeah, the only other idea I've had, somebody can steal this. I wanted to make a Lucky Charms cue where you have all of the marshmallows around the wrap. You know, the red balloon and the lightning bolt or the purple star or whatever, the horseshoe. And then at the bottom, you have Lucky the Leprechaun. I thought that would be a great cue. Okay.
That seems like that really honestly seems like a McDermott type of cue.
Yeah.
Let's go, Rico. Let's go, Rico Torres. Here's your test to see if you listen to the podcast or not.
Yeah.
We need a Lucky Charms cue. Demetrius will
buy maybe
it.
a Looney Tunes cue.
Make me a Lucky Charms cue. Yeah, Looney Tunes. That's pretty good. Warner Brothers edition.
I honestly, I had a prescription from a dentist. This is a few years back, to put a Looney Tunes character on the side of a tooth I was making.
Yeah, and you did it right. It was Daffy Duck.
Yeah, I did it. It was Daffy Duck. It turned out beautiful. And it's baked on, like in a kiln, in a furnace, it gets baked on. So it's permanent.
Perfect.
And it turned out just fine. So this lady has Daffy Duck on one of her teeth. So anything's possible in this world, in this day and age.
Yeah, and didn't you make up the offer that you'd put a 9-ball on someone's tooth if they needed a tooth?
I did. There's a player over in Wausau who has a 9-ball on a bicuspid, an upper bicuspid. And then there's another player who lives up in Abbotsford who has no fear 9-ball. In other words, the first tooth on a 3-tooth bridge says no. The pontic in the middle says fear. And the last tooth has a 9-ball on it.
You know what you should do? You should make up a 3-ball for Ryuto Gomez so that he could get it right on the front. You can get a nice 3-ball. And then maybe like a 6-ball right next to it.
Yeah, I could do that.
So come on, you guys got to know that. You guys got to know this drama by now. Come on, that was really funny.
I don't know. I don't know the reference. Sorry, Nate.
Oh no, all right. So the situation. We're gonna talk about this at length tomorrow. So don't worry. This will be like a nice little preview. Ryuto Gomez was playing Efren Reyes in New York City, and they were playing 10-ball, and it was hill. And I'll kind of draw up the scenario. I guess we'll do like a little thing here. It'll be great. It's arts and crafts time. And this is the 3-ball, and the 6-ball's like right here. So if you can see this, the 3-ball's against the rail,
okay,
and the 6-ball's down in the corner.
Is it like a sideboard? Or does it block the pocket, or is it like a sideboard?
Well, it goes. It goes. It's both. It's in that spot where it's both. It not only goes. It will not go clean, but it not only goes, you can also play the combination on it. So Ryuto Gomez walks around the table and points right at the 3-ball, and then shoots the 6-ball in and keeps shooting. On Hill playing Efren Reyes.
He just played it off like that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah, totally. And it was streamed. It was streamed live to Facebook. So he just got completely torched online. He makes a comment. He's like, "Well, nobody tried to stop me shooting, and the only person that wanted me to stop shooting was Efren's backers, and they wouldn't do it because they know I'd break their arms."
Tell you,
so
I don't even know what to say.
He tough guyed it. He tough guyed it. It was great. So I think you should make up a 3-ball for Ryuto Gomez and get it right there in the front tooth. It'd be fun.
He has to have a tooth. He has to go to a dentist and get the tooth prep first, and they got to send me the impression. Then I can make anything.
Or maybe he would ask for the 3-ball, and then you'd actually give him the 6-ball.
And then he'd use it anyways.
Yeah. We'll just take it. Yeah.
Well, hey, they're both round. Come on.
Yeah. And it's
Give me a
red-green. I
break.
mean, maybe he's red-green colorblind.
That could be.
All right, that's enough of that. We're going to talk about that at length tomorrow. So, but today, this is not a normal recap episode. This is going to just be talking to Rob and Demetrius, because last week they went in 2 different tournaments and they played their passions. So Demetrius was at Turning Stone Classic, and Rob, you were at, what is the official name of that? Well, I looked online and what I saw was the Casino del Sol Grand Slam 3-cushion event.
Yeah, it's Grand Slam because there's actually 4 3-cushion billiard events in one tournament. So that's why he named it that.
Okay.
It started out 4 years ago as just a B player tournament. In other words, 0.8 or less could only play in it. And that would be like a $5.99 and under a Fargo tournament or something. And he did that to encourage players like me to go and travel and play in these 3-cushion billiard tournaments, and that it was a success. Then he added a Scotch doubles to it the next year, and you could have 1 B player and then 1 professional player, higher number player. And then he added this year actually an open division where anybody could play of any caliber. And then he offered a handicap division. So it was actually 7 days of billiards with 4 different separate tournaments playing at the same time. The B started first 1 day early to get a lot of those matches going and out of the way and done, so that logistically it could be managed. But it really was run. Ricky Caranco Jr. Ran it perfectly. Really did an outstanding job. He was on the ball. He was on that mic going, okay, 1 minute to warm up here. That's it. Hey, you're over there 2 minutes. Now let's get going, And he just kept things going on site. So that's why it was Grand Slam.
What did you play in? What did you play? Which divisions did you play in?
I played in the B and the handicapped. It was a little more money to play in the open, another $120 or so. So I wasn't going to, I'm basically donating in any tournament, 3-cushion tournament I get into anyways. I just wasn't willing to donate an extra 100 plus 220. So it was $440 to get in the 2 tournaments I was in. Would have been another 320 to get in the open. And nobody asked me to play in the Scotch for obvious reasons.
All right. And
I'm
Demetrius,
a rookie.
you played down.
Demetrius,
you played down at Turning Stone? Well, I guess over at Turning Stone, maybe I should say. How was that?
Oh, it was a treat, man. Yeah, it was a big treat. And I just want to get back. So thank you, Ryan, in the comments. And then, last night, if anyone's interested, I was doing commentary for a Little Chris. So if you want to check out Little Chris's YouTube channel, he has a video where he's working towards a 100-ball run in straight pool. And last night I jumped on and did some commentary, and we even had a run where I was doing walking him through, telling him what to shoot. He was trying to shoot my patterns and stuff like that. It was pretty fun. I just want to take a real quick second to say thank you. I'm not going to plug the boot camp too much today. I'll just mention that I do training at mnpoolbootcamp.com, minnesotapoolbootcamp.com. You don't have to be around here. Check out the website, People Fly In, because it's a 3-day boot camp. But I mostly just want to say thank you for people because, I've had a good start to the year. I've booked out until May now, and so that's really exciting. But here I am. 2.5 years ago, I would have been working at a corporate gig right now, and now I'm talking pool and playing pool and competing. And so I don't feel entitled to that at all. I feel like really, really, really grateful. And I feel a sense of responsibility that in exchange for that, like I really want to help everybody that's interested in getting better, have a better, deeper, more profound relationship with a game they love. So I'm not looking for, handouts to just, I think I just get to be so cool. I get to go around and play pool, but I just really appreciate you, and anything I can do to help anybody watching get better at pool. I feel very motivated. But yes, so thank you guys, because it's for you. It's because of the people that come and train with me that I get to go and play Turning Stone. So I want to thank everybody.
Yeah, you got to play Earl out there.
That is true.
You got to play, and Fedor, and you it was close with you and Fedor, wasn't it? He's a robot, isn't he? It's sick.
Yeah. So I was actually, if it's okay, I had an idea if I can have just a couple highlights of the matches I played and a couple maybe tidbits from those matches. I don't plan on going into more than like a minute or two for each match, but is that okay if I just kind of walk through my tournament?
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you're on here. That's why we're
Yeah,
talking
I'd
to you
like to
guys.
hear it, Demi.
Cool. So yeah, it's funny, the draw means a lot in a field like that because you've got people that are in the 500 Fargos and you've got people that are in the
Yep.
800 Fargos.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of variance to the draw. I had kind of a tough draw. It looked good in the beginning, but Fedor was in my group of 16. And in that field, Fedor and Shaw were like the two juggernaut players that were like by far playing the best pool of the tournament. Then you had like a second group of guys like Earl, Mika, I'm trying to think, some of the gentlemen from Kuwait. You had a few other players like that ilk that were playing really, really strong. But there's no question that Earl and Shaw were playing really tough. So to have Fedor in my group of 16 in a 128 man bracket, it's a little tough because even if I get through my first few matches, it's really hard to get past Fedor. So when I got out there, the first match, I thought it was a good draw. I looked up the guy's Fargo rate. He was like a 581 or something. So I'm thinking, okay, race to 9. It's a pretty good warm up match for me. It's really hard for a 580 plays good pool, but it's hard for a 580 to take me in a set to 9. But it turned out to be a 15-year-old, Garrett Vaughn, who's like some junior national player, up and comer. And so when I was thinking about a 580, I had one picture in my head of how it was going to be. And then when I got there, I didn't expect a 580 who's playing like a 630 that wants to be a 780. You know what I mean? So it's like I was not playing against some guy that was like nervous and kind of like out of his. It's like this kid was coming for me, like shooting really straight and loose, and it was a little dicey. He had a couple early combos, and it was a little frustrating because he had 2-1-9 combos. I was up like I got up 3-2. He had a combo and a run out, and then at 3-2 he got a save, and he got ball in hand and took some flyer at the 1-9 and made the thing to go 3-3. But then I ended up winning from there 9-3. So once I got rolling, he kind of broke down a little bit, and he was really, I don't know. We had a talk for about half an hour afterwards because he was really his dad was watching in the stands, and he felt like a lot of pressure to like he felt a lot of performance pressure, and so we had some good talks, and I friended him on Facebook, and I referred him over to one of my coaches' corners where I talk a little bit about process versus results because, when you're playing in tournaments, like I was surprised at how like disappointed he was that he wasn't beating me. And I'm just like, I don't know, man, you're 15, you're playing in a pro tournament against a good player. It just seems like this is your chance to have fun and learn and swing. And anyway, so not much to say.
He took it serious.
And I felt like he was really concerned that his dad was going to be really critical of some of his shot selections or his performance, or it just seemed like he was under a lot of pressure. And anyway, yeah, I don't need to go into that any further. So it was tough. And then but the second match was the weird one, and I think the second match was one of the really pivotal matches of the tournament because I played this gentleman Ron Costanzio. And he's like a 700 from out in the Northeast. And he's he's a little bit older. He's a little bit older than me, but he's been playing up there for a long time. And I guess him and Bucky are like the two steady winners of the Joss Tour. And so I didn't know that. I just knew he was a good player. And this one was tough because early enough in the tournament, if I win this match, it means well. But if I lose, it's a big set. And race to 9, I had him 4-2. And then he won 5 in a row to get me down 7-4.
Ooh.
And things were really rolling his way. Now, he was playing really well. I don't want to of course, he was playing really well. But when I got to the table, it just seems like every time I kicked, he'd get a shot and run out. And every time he kicked, he'd wrestle behind something. And even if I did get a shot, it was one of those shots where it's like I can make the 1, but I'm running into balls and there's no way to get on the 2. And there's just the balls. Or if I do go into balls, then they get tied up with each other and I have to play some kind of neutral safety where I never really had anything that you know what I mean, where you want to look at. I never really had to look at something where I'm like, yeah, I can win from here. And he kept me off the shot really well. And it was very frustrating because he played well. And then things were kind of rolling his way too. And so as I thought about like the lesson from this match, I think that when the other guys kind of got the momentum and the rolls are going their way, sometimes it just turns around in its own, right? Just you get a little lucky. They, usually if they blow a shot or hang something up or give you a rack, but if they're not giving you anything, it seems like, and maybe Nate, maybe you can speak to this, but I've always felt like you can't wait for the rolls to even out. You can't wait for a reasonable opportunity. You can't wait for something that you like. But it seems like if you can play through one rack and just overcome whatever you need to overcome for one rack, whether it's like, okay, it's not really fair that you got welded to the rail, or you got over this one ball that you could have gotten over, and now you got to accept a lot of distance on this next shot, and everything's off angle, and nothing's really working out. But if you could just get through one rack like that, where it's not fair, it seems like things turn around after that. Am I crazy? Have you noticed that?
No, you're not crazy at all, Demi. That is exactly the way reality is.
I mean, I had a situation like that, and maybe that's just the difference between your level and my level. But I've been back playing a lot of pool the last few weeks, and I've had a pretty good string of tournaments so far. I've actually, I think I've played at about 9 tournaments in the last month, and I've actually won 6 of them. So I've been playing some really good pool. I feel like I'm getting my game up there pretty, to a nice level. And I had this situation yesterday where I'm playing against a good friend of mine, and his name's John Lee, and I'm watching him play, and I wish this was streamed, because like I'm watching it. I'm playing in this match with me, and the first rack, he's got the break, and he comes in like super nervous, and it's only a race to 5 for me, 4 for him, and he starts his first match, and he breaks and runs down and gets bad on the 9-ball, playing 9-ball, and he misses a bank shot. Swipes the rack, the 9-ball is going to be straight in for me, whatever. And then it's alternate the break. So I go up there, and I just have a brain fart. Like I'm playing at my normal pool room, and I know exactly how every single one of the tables break, and I know where I got to break from playing 9-ball to get up, the wing ball down. And I just have a brain fart. I'm not really thinking, I'm kind of actually thinking how fortunate I am that he missed this 9-ball. And I go up and I rack the balls, and I throw my cue ball over on the side rail, and I hit the rack, and I'm like, the rack just goes like nothing. It's like 4 balls get out of the rack. It's a terrible rack, and it's just awful. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I know this table breaks terrible from this side. Why did I break from this side? And meanwhile, John Lee's up at the table, and he's got like a run out that you're not even supposed to try to run out of. And he gets out of it comfortably, like easily comfortably, like every single position. And it's not necessarily, sorry if you're watching, John, it's not necessarily because he was playing good position. I mean, he was just running into balls left and right. He was breaking out balls on accident and getting, layouts out of it. He never shot a hard shot, and he probably ran into a ball in 6 of his 9 shots. And then he breaks and runs his next rack in the same exact fashion. Right. So it's bumping balls all over the place. He missed a ball once, and it went off another ball and went into the same pocket he was playing anyways. And then he gets up 2-1, and I got the break, and I break and run. And then he breaks and runs on me again in the exact same fashion. So like Demetrius, the only reason I'm bringing this up is just like, I think this is the difference between my level and your level, Demetrius, where I'm a notch, maybe 2 notches below you. But I think you can find ways to shoot out of what you have. And it's really hard for me on my own to turn around that momentum, because I'm down 3-2. He's going to 4, and I'm going to 5. So he's on the hill, and I got to win 2 straight. Not a big deal, but I got to do it. Right. And I break and run down to the 8-ball. And I have it's not an easy 8-ball. No, it's a dead straight in 8-ball. Sorry. The position is not easy. The 9-ball is on the short rail, frozen to the second diamond, basically.
Of course,
and my 8-ball. And my 8-ball is sitting on the long rail, frozen to the rail, frozen to the rail. And I got I get dead straight in on it. So I got to draw the ball straight back down table to get basically within, let's say 2 diamonds of the bottom rail. I draw it back. Yeah. And I draw the cue ball back, and it's going right in between about let's say the quarter of a diamond out of the pocket and a half a diamond out of the pocket. And the ball's just rolling, and it just goes like this.
Oh, it hooks into the corner.
And then it scratches on me.
Oh, that's so gross. That's so gross.
Like, and I set that, and I grab the cue ball as it's falling in, and I'm not mad, it's just it is what it is. But I go back there, and I set the cue ball down, and I just kind of shoot it down the rail, and the ball it does the same thing. It gets to about about the side pocket, and it actually takes the opposite direction. So the table's perfectly level. The cue ball is just a little bit weird, and it's like. That's the kind of that was the kind of rolls I was kind of getting, not me personally, because I was actually my rolls were actually kind of neutral. I didn't think I got good rolls. I didn't think I got bad rolls, but I thought John Lee got really, really, really good rolls, and he played well. And the only reason I bring this up is because I feel like if that was you, Demetrius, you would have ran that out. You would have had the break and you'd have broken ran. Where at my level, at about a 675, 675, 680, I think I'm playing a little better than that right now still. But, at that level, like, I have to still rely on those kind of rolls to get me out of where I'm at. I can't create my own rules to like overcome bad things.
Let me think about. I guess I want to congratulate you.
You don't create a bad roll, Nate. That just happens.
I just want to congratulate you on a great series of tournaments and a great bunch of wins. The one thing that I've had on my mind, so lately I've been playing pretty well, and I think about how I was just talking to somebody over the weekend. We did a boot camp and we had a late night conversation. I was just remarking about how, like, I quit pool when I was 18 for 5 years, and I'd given up the idea of being, a great player or whatever. And when I started playing again at 23, I never had any. I never renewed any kind of ambition. I'd already decided, like, I'm not going to ever be like Fed or Gorst. But what I didn't understand when I was 23 was how long life is. And so what happens is, I felt like I'd already given up 5 years of my life not playing, and I'd already, taken my eye off the number one spot as any kind of ambition. So I just thought that meant I could never get anywhere with pool. But what happens is if you just keep playing year after year after year after year, as long as you're trying to get better, those incremental improvements over a series of years really add up. And it may not add up to Fedor or Shaw, but it adds up to where I'm playing a hell of a game of pool right now. And so for you, you're still in your 20s, and it's like you might feel like, I'm not going to be a top player. I'm not putting in that much work into your game. But if you continue to try to improve, and every year you try to get 5%, 3% better year after year after year, there's no reason that 10 years from now you're not playing, 750 pool. You know what I mean? And it's like, maybe you're not going to go the Tyler Steyer route where you're just full-time touring around, but like just because you're not all in doesn't mean you can't play a hell of a game of pool. And I mean, you already play a hell of a game of pool. I'm just saying there's no reason I'm still quietly watching for you to, especially with what you're doing. You're watching all the top players, talking to top players, going to tournaments, playing in tournaments. I don't see any reason why you're not going to have a super bright future. It may not be, shooting up to the number one spot in the world and winning Matchroom events, but I look for you to have a pretty fun future. So.
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying the game right now, and I think that's the fun part is I'm actually enjoying playing right now. It's been a while since I've actually been at this point where I'm really enjoyed playing for this long a time, and maybe winning a couple tournaments, and then I was actually lucky enough to hit the break and run yesterday for the tournament, so I made a little money out of that at 250 a ball, so that was kind of fun. And LJ, if you're still watching, thanks for the shout out for that. It's been fun, I mean, maybe as I go on and I continue a little bit more, I'll start talking a little bit more about my career as well. But right now I'm just trying to continuously maintain the love for the game and competing again. So,
well, in competition, success breeds happiness, and happiness breeds more success.
That's right.
They both feed on each other. And you can see that all the time. The more you win, the more confident you are, the happier you are, and the more you're going to win. And then, of course, it depends who you're playing. I mean, if you play 5 Federer Gorse, I don't know how happy you're going to be at the end of the day. I would be extremely happy because I got to watch one of the best players in the world beat me, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So I agree. And I just think that that's the same thing that's why I do what I do, is because everybody listening and watching, it's like you might have decided, when I don't get to be a top player, so I'll just play leagues and hit balls in my basement. But that doesn't mean that you can't keep learning and growing, and that over 10, 20, 30 years, your game can't incrementally go from, 500 to 550 to 600 to 650. And not everybody's going to get 700 plus. But I'll tell you, I think that I'll say it this way, anybody that where pool remains a steady passion in their life for decades, there's no reason why they shouldn't be playing, whether it's 600 or 650 level pool. Like, I think that you can get well into the 600s with just a steady passion for the game and incremental improvement. I don't think anybody should ever feel like, that they're, like they're just at 530 and that's as far as they're going to get without like quitting their jobs. Like, no. That's why I do what I do. Okay.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Demi.
So I was just gonna finish. So I'm down 7-4 to this guy. Things are rolling really good for him. I finally got a shot, and once again, it was a really uncooperative, challenging table. But I just fought my way through one set of adversity that I just felt like I had to run out. I had to settle for some shots that I didn't want to settle for, but anything else, I could have maybe gotten better, but it would be risky. I might risk missing, or I might miss losing my cue ball. So I just had to take what the table gave me, do stuff I knew I could do, except that I was going to have to come with some testy shots. And I ground through this rack, came with those shots, got it to 7-5, and that one rack turned it around. And then I got it back to 7-7. I get kissed in on the break. He runs out 8-7. And then at 8-7, we had this really, really cool. I went for this 9-ball carom that was like maybe inadvisable how tricky and tough it was, but I just felt like I needed to put the 9-ball down right there and found a way to make it go in and went at 8-8. And then at 8-8, man, Nate, I almost wanted to, if I send you a picture, could you put it on the screen?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, check this out. I got to send you this picture then. Because I played a safety at Hill, and he kicked and hit the ball and welded me to where there was no hit on the one. Like, I truly felt that, like, there's most players I could give them like 50 tries to hit the one ball, and I just don't think that there was a hit on the one ball. And unfortunately, the only picture I have the diagram of what ended up happening. I was wedged behind the 2-ball. See if I'm going to take one more shot to find it here. I was wedged behind the 2-ball. I was wedged behind the 7-ball, and the 2-ball didn't pass the 7 into the corner. So I didn't want to risk breaking them open because I at least wanted him to have to earn it with the 2-7. Okay, I'm not going to find it, so I'll just forget it. I didn't want to move the 7 because the 2 didn't pass the 7. It was going to be at least a little bit of work. But it was one of these shots where I had to kick into the end rail. And then, like that one pocket shot where you kick into the end rail and then it comes off, slides a little bit, and then hooks back with a masse. Like you elevate, spear into the rail, and it banks and then hooks.
Yep.
It was like that, but I had to have it slide 2 feet off of the end rail before it hooked. Because it was like there were so many balls in the rack area. Like I was right by the corner pocket, and I had to kick into the end rail, slide 2 feet past all the balls in the rack, and then do like a right angle hook. So I had nothing. I didn't want to move the 7. So I elevated up, and I had to hit hard, man. I hit hard with like 80-degree elevation, pounded the cue ball into the rail. It's sliding across table towards the other side rail, and it hooks back, does a right angle turn, rolls up table, and clips the one in the side pocket. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I didn't think I'd never hit that shot before. Like that anyway. I never thought that would go. I just had a free roll on it. And then the 2 didn't pass the 7, like I mentioned. So now I'm up table. So I play a length of the table cut bank, banking the 2 to the end rail and diagonally across table like a one pocket shot, trying to play like a 2-way shot and get it behind balls in the rack area. And the ball goes in. Then I ended up not being able to put down the 3. It was not, I didn't have a good shot at the 3. And I kind of played a 2-way. And at that point, I think the guy was just rattled because he didn't return a good safety and he left me a shot. I ran out. And so something about like, I don't know, man, something about like getting through that tough rack and then just coming at it. It's like, here's a really good player, but he just rattled a little bit on the hill and I got away with one. So I beat Ron 9-8. And I'll tell you, if you ask him, he would say that he was supposed to win that match and he dogged it or that I got lucky. And that's probably all true. But nevertheless, I ended up winning that match. So that was super tough match. And that was a big one.
Yeah.
So, because then my next match was like against, the player was lower rated. I used to get rattled when I'd play guys like, sometimes I'd play guys like, 50 to 100 points lower than me on Fargo rate. It's like you have expectation. You feel like you're supposed to win, but they're playing good and they're hungry and they're good players. Anybody in the 650 range, they're great players. But I've just grown a lot since the last few years. And I just feel very comfortable like playing my game. And I don't know if I'm not going to win all the time, but at least I'm not going to like play down to their level and slow down and wait for them to give me racks because they're lower rated. And no. I just played my game and won pretty routine. So then, so I won my first 3 and then I played Fedor. And Fedor, I won the leg and I made 4 balls in the break. It scratched cross side on the cut break and he runs out. And then he scratches cross side on the cut break. It doesn't make a ball. And I have a tough 9-ball run. And I made a tough run to go 1-1. And so since I scratched on my first break, I tried to make a little adjustment. I came up dry and he ran like 5 racks on me. And it was just but I'm telling you, the way he ran these racks, I could spend an hour failing to explain how well this guy plays right now. I'm sure that he played the best, technically best set of pool at the tournament, because I've never seen a set of pool. All I can say, Nate, is if you had a virtual pool like computer game where you got to move around the speed and the hit and going into balls and drawing out exactly where you wanted every ball to end up after breaks and hook draws, or one rails into the side of a ball for a breakout, or whatever he executed as if he had a virtual pool game, and he controlled the rotation of every ball to the inch, all set. It was like tough. It was not going easy for him. He was not getting rolls. He was not getting favorable layouts, and it didn't matter because it was like he had ball. It was like it got to the point where I'm like, if I had ball on hand on every shot, I don't know if I could beat Fedor. I mean, I don't even know that I could beat him. It was the most unbelievable.
So what you're telling me is even Earl doesn't want any of that action with no side pockets on a 10-foot table?
I've never seen pool played that way. I've seen people catch gears, and maybe when it comes to gambling matches or breaking and putting big packages together, maybe Shane has a 10-ball gear, or maybe Dennis could get there. I really don't know if maybe he doesn't have the seasoning to respond when people play back at him, or I don't know. I just know that obviously if he's not the best in the world, he's obviously in the conversation. But because there's mental. There's other parts of the game besides physical, but I'll tell you, the physical game, he plays physically better than anybody that's ever held a cue. I don't think anybody that's ever held a cue in the history of pool strikes the balls as well and cleanly and accurately with cue ball shot making, elevated distance, like every part of the game. He is the best, technically best pool player I've ever seen walk the earth.
Nice.
Any debate about that, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, certainly. It had to be a treat.
I mean, I agree with you as far as you're not making a statement that he is the greatest of all time. You're saying that he does a list of things better than everyone else, and I think you're really struggling to find anybody who does strike the ball better than him, especially shot in and shot out. I mean, the guy just does not make mistakes. Like that little have you ever seen him decelerate through a shot?
No.
Every now and then you'll catch a player and you'll be like, yep, he missed that because, he decelerated through his stroke. I've never seen Fedor decelerate through a stroke, ever. I mean,
he is in control of his cueing and his control over his cue stick. He hits the balls. His cue moves soft with length, kind of like a Tyler Steyer or something, where he comes back, pauses, smooth start, and it's really chilling to watch in person. You can watch on a screen, it does nothing. But when you watch in person, he's like back, and it's just like this butter, soft, medium swing where it comes floats,
nice.
Starts really smooth and soft, ends up with a medium, and it's like, and the balls are lively and reactive and crawling around. I mean, and he just really, really crisp. So anyway, yeah, the best striker in the world when it comes to there's no doubt in my mind he's the best striker in the world. So again, when it comes to heads-up gambling matches, that's a different story. But I think he's proven. I think Mike Page just did a post where he's been playing over an 850 level for like this last 6 months or something. He got second in Turning Stone. He just won the AZ 10 ball, right? So it's like obviously the guy's. He just finals 2 tournaments in a row and won one of them, and. Obviously he's a world champion, and there's no question. I don't know that there's any hotter tournament player in the world right now than Fedor. And when it comes to gambling,
maybe Albin.
Maybe, yeah. It's hard to argue with that, but I don't know, man. I think that, I don't know that. Anyway, so I would love to see a match between like Fedor and Dennis. I think that would be an interesting 9-ball match. But sidetrack. But who do you like in that match if they played a race to 129 ball?
It depends how many of the rules that Dennis could get in his favor. Right? Because we all know that. Let's be real. Shane played Dennis in Dennis's rules twice, and when Dennis gets his rules in the way that he wants them, he's the dude. The dude might be the greatest who ever did it at his particular rules, and
it's pretty hard to beat. It's pretty hard to beat what Dennis did to Shane those sets. Anyway, it's an interesting question. It's been on my mind ever since that Fedor match. Fedor is still like really young. So I'm really interested to see what happens over the next 3-4 years with Fedor.
Yeah, he's only 23,
Yeah.
22.
I don't even, is he even?
Something like that.
He's either
Pretty
20.
young.
He's 22 or 23. I know that.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll put the queued up I team on it.
The best is ahead of him.
So Fedor gets me down like 6-1. I had one more
21.
chance. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I had one more chance, and I dogged it. I mean, I was just shell shocked. I mean, it was 1-1, and then it was 6-1, and it just felt like completely devastated. Now, I will admit, I dogged it. Like I ran up to the 9, I missed a touchy 9, but I missed a 9, and I'll tell you, I was disappointed because after that he beats me 9-1. I didn't really get another shot, and I'll tell you, part of me is like, I don't mind losing to Fedor. The way he played, it's completely irrelevant. But if I'd made that ball and went 6-2, and let's suppose that I break and run 2 racks and go 6-4, then I'm not saying Fedor's going to rattle, but like if you want to win sets against the best in the world, you can't just get down 6-1 and be like, watch a guy run 5 racks and be like, well, I can't win. Who am I kidding? I mean, if I'm going to win a set like this, I need him to be coming up dry and dogging it. I need a lead. Like that mentality doesn't scale to good pool. And I just feel like I was kind of defeated once he ran those 5 racks on me, which to be fair, I think a lot of people would be. But I feel like when I was down 6-1, I dug deep and I made some hard shots to come with that. But if I could have just put that 9 down, I'm not saying I would have won, but I would have loved to have put that 9 ball down and then run a rack or 2 off my break and at least be like, you're going to have to get all the way to 9 before I quit. And I just don't feel like I got all the way to 9 before I quit. I feel like I just kind of was a little defeated. And it's hard to be too critical of myself, first of all, because I think almost anybody could feel that way. And secondly, it's hard to really worry about it too much because in that match, it wouldn't have mattered. But in the future, that will matter. And so I have room to improve. Like just my response to that was a little bit weak. But then
I think all in all,
yeah.
Jumping in to a tournament like that, though, I mean, we talked to the players out there who are folks just trying to get better. They're in their 500s or whatever, and they always want to keep improving. And that's a really good example, Demetrius, of jumping into a tournament where there's a percentage of players in that tournament that are grand champions at this game. And you're going to be up against them at some point in time in that tournament and have an opportunity. And that's how you're going to get better at the game, not just teaching it and studying at home, but to actually play against these better players.
Yeah, like Jay Steger says here, you are who you hang out with and who you compete against. And you're absolutely right.
Against, definitely. Yeah.
So then,
there's no question there about that. I had a good fortune in the handicap tournament to play a player in 3-cushion named John Park. He's an Asian American player he came in 4th, I believe, 2 years ago at the Karam Cafe, Verhoeven Open out in New York. Pedro won it 2 years in a row. He was there at this tournament also. But John, I had got to play, and my handicap against him going to 40 points was 20. I only had to make 20 points, and he had to make 40. It ended up, I had a chance at 39-37 to go out. and so I felt at that point, no matter what happens at this point, I was in this handicap game with this professional player. And I just, win or lose, didn't matter to me then. And it didn't matter to me at all. And when the match was over, he turned to me and he said, Robert, you have a tournament presence. And I thought about what he meant by that, because he didn't explain himself. And what he meant was that you've obviously experienced playing in tournaments with better players before, whether it be pocket pool or billiard. He could tell I wasn't a 3-cushion billiard player, that I was a pocket pool player, with some history in the game. And so I really felt good about that comment, that he just had a presence at the table that was tournament tough, kind of is what he was saying. And he won, I think he won 40-37, and he slopped 4 points, just lucked them in, which in a race to 40 is going to happen even with the professionals, maybe two or 3 times. And what most guys do is they give you this wave, they go like this at the end of the table. not John Park.
He
He
takes him.
bows. He stands and bows, apologizing for his lucky shot. And I just thought that was just so cool that he would acknowledge a luck shot by bowing because it's his heritage, doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But no, you're when you're talking about table presence, you're absolutely right. And you can't. That's the thing I was thinking about is you can't work on that in your basement. You cannot work on that by reading a mental game book. There's only one way to do it, and that is to go out and have a match where you kind of dog it off the fed. Again, I missed one ball, so it's like really hard to feel like I dogged my brains out or anything.
Right.
But it's everything's relative to your ability and where your situation is. And so, but until you go through that, and until like I wouldn't have gotten to where. For example, what happened next is I played a guy on the stream table. I think this match is on YouTube where I played a guy who's in the mid 600s, and he was really freewheeling on me and getting some rolls. The guy slopped in 4 balls on me, and just everything was kind of going his way. And he was like, maybe this is my set to win. And I just felt really, really, really calm and unperturbed. And then at one point, I got a 5-3 lead, and I think I broke and ran a couple racks. And next thing you know, he's kind of defeated, and then I turned it around and won the set pretty handily. So the point is that a few years ago, that would have been a tricky situation is when one of these guys is playing over their head, getting rolls, and then kind of like things aren't working out the way I want to. I'm on a stream table at a pro tournament I really want to win. That would have been harder for me to deal with. And I couldn't have gotten to where like that didn't even phase me. And I wouldn't have gotten there had I not been through this time and time and time again. In the last 2 derbies I've played a string of guys in the mid to upper 6s where they're all hot and playing good on me. And it's like, when you want to win. And anyway, you can't bluff it. You got to go out and play. You got to get beat. You got to make these mistakes and learn from them. So I beat this guy. The only other match that was really the last 2, I played this guy from Kuwait. I had him 6-2. I was at this point, I'm super zoned out, like really, really, really zoned. My brain is super quiet. And somehow from 6-2, he started getting some rolls. He missed a few times and hooked me really badly every time he missed. And some things started going his way. And then at 6-4, I was running out, and I knew this was a super big rack because and the 6 ball skids on me, and he ends up running out, and then he gets it to 6-6, and then I looked at the score, and it was 7-6 him, and I was like sure that it was 6-6, but I don't think he would deliberately take an extra game, so I'm like maybe I'm wrong, but like it was 6-6, but it's 7-6, and like I'm just like in the zone and I don't know what's going on. I'm like, well, I can't really say anything because I don't know that it's 6-6. And I thought it was 6-6. But anyway, I guess I'm down 7-6 now. And it was pretty tough because after being up 6-2 and all that, but then I came with a really, really good shot. And then anyway, whatever, doesn't matter. I ended up beating him 9-7. So that was a big set because he was higher rated than me and he's a hell of a player. And then I played Earl. And I want to compliment Earl. He was playing really well. He was calm. He managed himself. At no point did he ever lose his cool. He was quiet, calm, focused, in the moment. He just kept doing what he was supposed to be doing. He was shooting very, very straight. He was breaking very, very well. He ran a lot of racks off his break. And at this point, when I'm playing Earl, I'm super zoned. And I played well. Like I didn't feel any nerves. I felt concern, importance, but I didn't feel like nervous or anxious. And I just kept doing what I needed to do. And I kept running tables and we were trading racks. And then he ran a couple more from his break. I got 3 times I broke wet and got hooked. And once I broke wet and got kissed in. And it just wasn't going my way on the break. I didn't get opportunities, but I was playing really well. And at 6-4 him, I finally blew a chance that would have gotten it to 6-5. And that was my last chance because then he goes 7-4, breaks and runs out. And next thing I don't shoot again, it's 9-4. But so I would have liked that shot pack. But again, I ran the first 4 opportunities. If I dog 1 out of 5 racks, it's hard to really, I didn't get enough opportunities. But what I would say is that Earl was breaking well and playing well, and he's obviously a better player. So if he's out breaking me, he's running out every bit as well as me, obviously, and he's calm and it's great. And when you look at Earl's tournament, he only lost 2 sets. And he lost to Jason Shaw 9-8, who's the guy that won the tournament. So he lost to the guy that won the tournament 9-8, and Jason got lucky to beat him. And then he lost to the guy. He lost, I think it was to Mika 9-8, who Mika was
lost to
playing pretty
Mika
well
9-8.
too. So it's like for Earl to lose out of the tournament to Mika and Shaw, the eventual winner, and then Mika imminent, and lose full sets 9-8, 9-8, and have some bad rolls, and then beat everyone else he played. Like Earl was like, I think he took fifth, but he was playing good enough to like definitely get to the finals or even win the thing. It's just a funny game, 9-ball, and only one guy can get there. But Earl was playing the best pool I've seen him play for 20 years. So I want to shout out to Earl. Good shooting, Earl. And
Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to Mika after you bring him up, because I guess if you don't know yet, I am actually going to be hosting this. I'm the director for this one. I am bringing Mika Immonen and Darren Appleton to Madison, Wisconsin before the tournament at the Dells. Are you going to that, Demetrius? You going to play in that?
No, unfortunately, I cannot. I've got boot camps. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I am going to be running this one, and if you would like to get in for a private lesson with Mika Immonen and Darren Appleton for that, they're going to be doing boot camps on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Feel free to reach out to me, and you can always get into those, and it's going to be a fun time. Then we're going to be doing a streaming match on the 5th and the 6th between 10 ball on the Saturday, and then Sunday we're either going to do a race to 314.1 or a race to 30 and 8 ball. That'll be whoever, the fans' choice. So just throw that plug in there really quick since we brought up Mika. Trying to get that filled so that everybody, they feel valued while they're here, and maybe I can get some more people in the Madison area and help grow some pool in this area. So that'll be fun.
Yeah,
so I guess.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to give a shout out today to somebody in the pool world, pocket pool world also, and three cushion, who just played outstanding. He was in the B division and he handicapped. I'm not sure if he played in the Open or not, but and everybody knows this man. His name is Tom Rossman. He's Dr. Q. He's written books on pool. He goes and gives exhibitions. He's a trick shot champion in past years. He whooped me the worst of anybody I've been whooped by. And I think he beat in the non-handicap. I believe he beat me like 25-12 or something. It was just, and he made some shots where he actually jumped up in the air clapping for himself because they were that difficult of shots to be made and execute. And he actually made them and executed them. And it was tremendous to watch him play his game. There was a person there that was talking about how many systems they know. And I know 40 systems. He went like this and that. And Tom overheard him say that. And I nudged him. I said, Tom, how many systems do you know in pool? And he goes, I don't know, 80 maybe. I just started laughing at that. And he did apply these, but he's such a gentleman to play against, such a competitor. And that was really that whole tournament. I watched him play a couple other matches, and he just played out. He made the finals of the B tournament and played just super pool. So I'm going to shout out to Tom. He's good for the game of pocket pool, and he's great for the game of three cushion billiards.
He's brought a lot of joy to a lot of people with pool, and brought pool to a lot of people. So I agree with that. Yeah. I just want to wrap up. I think that, in the end, I just want to finish my little. So I ended up taking ninth. If I could have gotten past Earl, his next match was against Dave Dreidel, which was like the only player under 700 left in the field. So it would have been nice to sneak past Earl. I could have maybe gotten past Dave, get into the 5th place, and fight my way and see if I could make a final, final 4, final 3, final 2. See how far I can get. But it's always tough, man. And I feel that overall, I was really happy with my play. I had a tough draw, but it could have been tougher, but it could have been a lot easier. But anyway, I'm happy with how I'm playing. I've never hit the balls any better than I'm hitting them right now. And I'm excited to go to Derby here in a couple of days, fire a bunch of shells. And I think that the one thing I would say is that when you're playing in tournaments, it's like, you have to do your job. Sometimes it's late. You don't feel like playing. Sometimes things aren't going your way, whatever. It's just in the end, you just have to decide. You have to decide, how does a professional player handle these situations? And you just have to say, kind of like, forget about trying to run out, forget about trying to win, just try to do your job, So like when when Earl's playing really well, or when you get a tough draw, or when you're down to Fedor, or when you're getting bad rolls, or when you're losing to a lower rated player, whatever the situation is, don't worry so much about I need to win this and pretend that I'm a good player. If I can win this, then I'll look like a good player. Forget it. Just do what a good player is supposed to do. Put in the effort on everything. Good decisions, good efforts, good attitude, and just trust that, yeah, you're going to lose matches, but what do you want? Do you want to win this one match, or do you want a career? Do you want a future? And I think you just have to decide what you decide, even if it doesn't make a difference in this match. The habit of which decisions you make and how you manage yourself shot after shot, game after game, that's what's going to determine your future. And you have to put your future above the game at stake and just play it the way you know you're supposed to play it. And that takes time. So, okay, that's
I've
all I
got
got.
something
Thank
now
you.
for both you guys.
All right.
Because you make a living of out of teaching pool, Demetrius, and Nate does it on the side, but also has done some teaching. And I ran into a situation between someone telling me something and me understanding it that has never happened before, quite like this. And the person teaching me is a better player than me. And what he said was, I want you to hit this cue ball with no English. Okay. So that after it makes contact with this ball, it contacts the first rail with no spin on it. And so I was hitting the cue ball down the median center line, just above center, trying, not giving it any spin, but well, you're giving it spin. You're not hitting it where you're supposed to hit it. And finally I said, okay, you get behind the ball and you hit it so I can watch you do it. And he was giving the shot about a half a tip of inside English. So he wasn't hitting it in the center of the cue ball. He was hitting it inside English so that when it hit the first rail, it wasn't spinning.
Sure.
It didn't have any spin on it.
So
there was
if anything, he's
confusion
supposed to
there
say give it
on
running
my
English.
part
It's what he
as
really
to
meant to say,
him.
I think.
If he would have said to me, make the cue ball hit the first rail with no spin on it, I would have said, well, I'm hitting the right side of the object ball and the rail's on the right. I have to give this inside English if it's going to hit and not have any spin.
So I have a comment on that, but I'll let Nate go first because I've been talking too much. Nate, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, but anyhow, that's kind of what happened. Had it been asked me a different way, I would have grasped it right away and been able to do that.
And I think that's the breakdown of people that can teach the game and people that, just can't teach the game. Like, I don't know who this player was. We didn't talk about this before now, but like, there's some people that, they understand things in their head, but they're not able to express it in a way that, makes it digestible for the person that's taking it in. So like when you say put no English on the ball, the first thing I want to say is what does no English mean, right? Does that mean you're hitting center ball? Because then you're turning into follow English, right? I mean, you're not hitting no English, you're hitting a follow shot, right? So when he's saying no English and he's insinuating that you need to have a little bit of inside spin, what he really means to say, I would assume, is use some running English off of the rail, right? Because at the end of the day, like if you don't hit any English on a ball, is he telling you to hit a sliding ball, like a stop shot sliding ball into the rail so that it's basically just bouncing off without
He was telling me to use reverse English so that when it comes off that first rail, it's not spinning at all.
Yeah, so
it's not running.
Then you're not going to get that with inside spin, right? I mean, I think the person who's trying to teach you something just is not really a teacher. Like, it just seems a little confusing to me. Like the one thing I found out from teaching the game is you really have to be extremely explicit in the way that you communicate things so that there is no discrepancy. Because I get myself in a lot of trouble when I say I never use. So like when I'm teaching, I never use left and right hand spin. I just don't say like use, hit left hand spin on this because my default is say inside or outside. So I always base my my English based off of the shot itself. So I'll say, hit this with a tip of inside English. And what I've noticed is that like my understanding of inside and outside English is a lot more in depth than most of the people that I'm working with. And they have to sit there and think, all right, well, the shot's to the right. That means that the inside English is going to be right hand spin. And they have to sit there and like think about it in their head a little bit and like understand. Now it's good in a sense because you're giving them a deeper understanding of what inside and outside spin is. But like still, it's like I'm using terms that people aren't necessarily as familiar with as I am, and that void in the understanding of where I understand something and they understand something, it's a lot of things that are lost in translation when you're teaching, and you really have to simplify things to the student that you're teaching. Everyone understands hit this with one tip of, let's say 10 o'clock left hand spin. No one understands hit this with high outside spin. That's it, right? A high outside could be 11 o'clock. It could theoretically be, 9 o'clock. Some people use it
9:30,
that way.
yeah.
Sure.
And it could be any of those things,
depending on which side of the ball object ball you're hitting. Yeah.
So this is,
and if you just sit there and tell them, say like hit a high outside, well, what does that mean? Because like my understanding of high outside is based off of the shot that I'm shooting at, and I get my idea of what that looks like by being on the shot and being a part of the shot. So I don't, I know that I have to hit on the left side of the cue ball and probably high, but I don't actually know until I get down on the shot and my brain analyzes it from the shooter's perspective exactly where that high outside is. And until you really have that understanding and you try to teach it, if you just say like high outside, there's no representation of what that actually means to somebody else who's not in your brain. So I think it's just a breakdown in communication and just not being a great teacher.
Well, I think that's what it was, what we had. Yeah.
So let me jump in here. So my opinion is that words, I mean, we use words because they're the best tools we have to communicate verbally. That doesn't mean that they're good. And so like, I think about the, the challenge that I had to do in elementary school or something where I remember the exercise where they had one person looking at a picture and trying to describe to the other person how to draw that picture, like draw this line and draw the square above this box, or, and you look at the final thing, it looked like a game of telephone, people's interpretations, how big the box was or where it was, or all these things. It didn't look anything the same. When it comes to pool, trying to describe how to hit shots with words is just very, very, very bad. And so the reason I don't really do Zoom lessons, and I've done one or two, and I don't like them because you're kind of limited to watching somebody play through a screen, which it's night and day different from being right by them and watching how they're hitting the balls and watching. You can see so much more side by side about their timing and about their presence and all these things. But then trying to describe stuff to them over a Zoom screen, it's just horrible. So here's my opinion. If you're going to learn from like books and videos, this is the problem, is that you're listening to words and writing. And yes, you can see how the person hit them and you can kind of like see through a screen. And I'm not saying they're bad, but the reason I do face-to-face in 3 days is because I could just, there's so many times where I say brain loves pictures. Like I'll try to describe how I want them to hit a shot and they'll hit it twice and it won't be working. I'm like, look, brain loves pictures, do this. And I'll get down and shoot it. And even if they're like, no, I hear what you're saying, or I know what you mean. It's like, no, watch this. Now do that. And it's like, you just bypass the whole brain and analytical thing. Now, of course, you have to learn technically how the shots work and what's going on. And you have to understand, you have to understand what you're doing. But there's so much better to just download from you to them, bypassing all this cognitive mumbo jumbo that's only getting in the way in a game of telephone. And so I like to just now, and I also have 3 days with my students, so I can teach them my vocabulary of so we can spend the first half the first day, we're kind of learning how we talk about shots, and so we better communicate with words. But even still, so much better side by side. This is what I'm looking at. Sticker them up. Here's where the object ball is. Here's where the cue ball is. I want you to make it look like this. Your turn. And then I could just mold them like clay until they look like a player. So that's it.
How's that, Rob?
Yeah. Well,
Satisfied?
yeah. When a ball hits a rail, it comes off with no English on it, zero. It comes off the rail with some running English. That's what it picks up, some running English off the rail. And when you want somebody to not do that, then that takes some reverse English. It has to hit the first rail with a little reverse, so it comes off that first rail with no spin on it.
Right.
And
Rob, I know exactly what you're talking about. There's a shot that I always used to miss hit. And it's when you're cutting a ball in the side pocket that's near the side, and the cue ball is going to hit the long rail and then the end rail and come up table. And normally, like say there's an angle where you cut a ball on the side, you hit long rails, end rail, and then towards the opposite side, there's like a scratch at the side, 2 rail scratch at the side.
Yeah.
And if you want it to check up and like maybe go from end rail straight up to the opposite end rail,
right,
you can use a little inside and check it up. Well, in my brain for years, I thought that I needed to use enough inside English so that it was still spinning with inside on off the second end rail so that it would reverse off the end rail. But I learned you just need a little bit to cancel the running spin that it picks up off the side rail. So
There
all
you
you need to
go.
do is use a twist of inside so that it comes off the first rail naturally.
Yep.
And then if it goes into the end rail with no spin, it'll come straight to the opposite end rail. So I always overspun that because I thought I needed it to be spinning on the end rail. But what I was actually trying to do is what you're saying, just use a little bit of inside to cancel out the rail and do spin it picks up and all that. So anyway,
Right.
yeah.
It's
Well,
the way it's worded, and I think you have to look at the person you're trying to explain that to. First off, where are they in the pool world? and then kind of tweak that a little bit. And this person wasn't a teacher either, Nate. He was just a player who was better than me. And he was showing me a shot from a player who was way better than him that he learned.
Yeah.
And so that's
and really at the end of the day, what he's describing works completely different as to whether or not you're going into that the rail at, let's say, if 0 degrees is like exactly 90,
like 5 degrees,
degrees,
you're going in the rail.
Yeah. If you go into a rail, like if this is your rail, if you're going into your rail like on like a straight down almost at it, or if you're coming at a very slow angle like this,
right,
it's gonna everything changes based off of how wide you come out, as opposed to if you're going almost straight into it, it's going to become more like it's coming out straight because it's going to want to straighten out. But if you're coming in at a tiny angle, it's going to widen out even more.
Yeah.
Right. And those are the things that, like, the nuances of the shot that you're shooting, it just doesn't really work if you're just saying do it this way. Well, okay.
Sure.
What does that mean? Right. So, I mean, I guess, Rob, we can kind of close this out for this discussion today. But how did you? I don't think you actually told us how you did and how your overall viewing of that tournament was. So tell us how your tournament went and what do you thought?
All these tournaments, these 3-question tournaments I go to me, I learn something every single one I go to. I brought home some information and some material in my head, things I saw happening on the table from the players I played against also. And I had a high run in any tournament I ran 7 in this tournament. I had a few 5s. So my game is coming up. Pedro Buena said to me 2 tournaments ago, he said, you keep going and playing against better players. He says, you keep doing that and you will improve every year by a tenth of a point. Okay. From a 0.5 to a 0.6 to a 0.7 to a point every year, he said, but you have to continue to play against these better players. So overall, my feeling was, I brought home COVID with me, of course, and then I gave it to my wife. And so, I mean, that was kind of a mess. And I think everybody that played in this tournament was going to get COVID, pretty much. Or if they've already had it, maybe they get it again. It was a super spreader event for sure. And in a casino, it was crowded, closed spaces, and all that. But besides the COVID thing, I am going to continue to play in 3-cushion tournaments where there are better players, and hopefully professional and world champions. And hopefully I get to be in a bracket where I play against them.
Good shooting, Rob. That's fun to put up. It's fun to score billiards. Like every billiard is a joy. So I'm glad you got to have some fun and play some good players. I just want to answer to Ryan. I'm playing all 3 events. I used to feel silly playing the bank pool event because I'm like, I'm not that good at playing bank pool. But then I learned a secret, which is that basically nobody's good at playing bank pool except for like Sky, Alex, and like Billy or something. So it's like basically just play them all and you got a chance. So anyway, yeah.
Right.
But no, that's good times. And Nate, you've been playing again. Do you have any other tournaments coming up?
Well, I'm actually playing basically a tournament every single weekend at this point. I'm playing almost every single Friday and almost every single Sunday.
Are these all handicapped, or how are you getting into these things?
Well, the Friday night, so the Friday and Sunday ones are weekly events. So the Friday is completely open. The Sunday has been handicapped. So I've been playing in those, and then Saturday I'll try to find something along the way. So 2 weeks ago I was able to play in the Oshkosh Open Masters Division for 10 ball and 8 ball. I was lucky enough to win the 10 ball. The 8 ball I didn't perform quite as well. It's tough, I think, actually, to go off of a tournament where you win and then kind of go through the ups and downs and the highs and lows of winning a tournament and then turn around and like reset immediately.
Yeah, do it again. Yeah.
2 hours. Yeah. Like 2 hours later, like you're coming down from, a high of winning a tournament. You're feeling really good. You're like, yeah, I did something. Oh, wait, I got to go play an opening round match. Oh, well, here, let me just put this aside and think about it later. That's always been a really, that's always been a struggle for me. And I think it's a struggle for a lot of people, but I think that's one of the things where like the pros are like, just being immersed in that lifestyle where, okay, great. I just snapped off the Arcadia Open and now I'm on my way to Derby City and nobody cares anymore. And it's just back to another opening round match at the Derby City. It's like, it's a fun thing.
The one mantra I have, because I've gone through this, and it's like, yeah, if you think about it like, I'm going to gear up and play a hard set and then I get to relax, or I have a tough match, so I'm going to play hard against this guy, but now I've got an easier match. I don't have to bear down. It's like, if you like hit the gas and then relax and let off the gas and hit the gas and let off so it's like you're right. The pros just literally hold their gas pedal to the floor. And so one thing that I think about a lot is like, when I start seeing the finish line, I'm up 8-6 in a race to 9, and I see a run out. I'm like, man, if I can just get through this, I win. If I just get through this, I'm safe. I just remind myself, my mantra is like, there is no finish line. If I run through these balls, I'm going to flip a coin with somebody, and we're going to be doing it again. And it's not about just let me get to this finish line and then I can celebrate or relax or whatever. It's like, no. I'm going to be living in this spot for the rest of my life. So, yeah. Am I having
We've had some really colorful people join our chat today. We got strippers joining, and we got like Holocaust people and like Nazi people. This is weird.
I got a lot of I see.
So you
that.
You got to answer this question, because Ralph Cleary's asked twice about the overlapping between the World Championship 9-ball and Griff's U.S. Open events. You said
I would say, Ralph, ask this question tomorrow, because we're going to do a regular. If you're able to join us tomorrow for the live chat, try to do it tomorrow, because I know that we're on a little bit of a time crunch, Demetrius and I. I have a private lesson that I got to go to.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Here. But I'm more than happy to talk about that. And I've kind of discussed it in the past. Basically, the generality is like the U.S. Open events are like really, really good, right? They're great events, but they're not one of the majors, right? They're not the World 9-ball, or they're not a matchroom event, and they're not a Predator event now. And at the end of the day, when the event schedule is this packed, you're gonna have a lot of book overs. And at the end of the day, let's let natural selection take its course. The best events will survive and the worst events will go bye-bye. I mean, it sucks that it happens this year, but at the end of the day, it's like if the US Open events, the 10-ball, 8-ball, Banks, One Pocket, if they're that good of events, they'll endure on and they'll still be here. And then, in the future, let's say, a tournament that just got done that almost nobody heard about, the Music City Open. Maybe the Music City Open isn't around in 5 years. And, because events like that have thinned themselves off the schedule, there's a plenty of a home for the US Open events that can fill that void. And, at the end of the day, like,
it's not all bad for guys like me. I'll tell you one last thought I've got about tournaments I play is I realize like I'll still try to keep playing the U.S. Open. I love the U.S. Open. I think it's a great event. I think playing in a matchroom event and playing in the U.S. Open against the world's best once a year, I'm okay with that. But as far as like my other tournaments I play, I think like Derby and Turning Stone are really good for me. I still get to play a Fedor or an Earl or whatever, but I don't have to play them first round every round. Yeah. I get to play against some players where I can I'm in the top 10-15% of the field, where I can win my way into the money and then kind of free roll from there. And I've got a legitimate shot to get to the finals with a good play and a good draw. So it's like, I feel like for me, if all I did was play international matchroom events, I'd be pretty discouraged and it would be pretty tough. But like, if I can play some of these in-betweeners, those are really good for me. And so I still like playing at least 1 or 2 big events where I really get, push yourself, right, even further out of your comfort zone. But so my point is that if there's an overlap and a lot of these players are playing the World 9-ball Championship, that just opens up the doors for guys like Jeremy Sosi and Shane McMahon and Josh Roberts and some of the middle level pros to kind of go and fight for those titles. And it's good that I don't actually mind a little overlap. I just think it provides opportunity. I think they're going to fill. That's my point. I still think they're going to fill.
Yeah. We're going to be following you, Demetrius.
Yeah. I've got Derby, and then after that, it's like 3 months where I'm just training week after week. I'm probably not going to get to play another tournament till April, but
We'll
that's
follow you
okay.
at the Derby.
I gotta teach. Teachers got to teach.
Yep. And
Cool.
I'll be playing the Wisconsin the Predator event in Wisconsin coming up, as well as the amateur 10 ball, the amateur 8 ball, and then the teams. So
I would
I'll
hate
be
to have to
playing
play in that thing.
4 events.
I would hate to play in that thing. You know, you split sets with me, and I got to try to beat you in a shootout. It would be looking like Naoki Oi. I'd hate to get into a shootout with you.
That? How funny
that
is
was
that?
awesome.
He's like
Yeah.
throwing a samurai sword around. It's 14 to 13, dude. That's so
Little
great.
jumping tournament.
I got to get that video. I got to get that video tomorrow for the stream. I mean, that's just the greatest thing ever. Well, I guess let's wrap it up there. We got to get to our meetings, and Rob, you got to go sleep.
Have a great day, man.
All right.
So,
thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Cool players out there. God bless y'all.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And we'll be back again tomorrow for the regular recap show. So this was not that. We'll be back again tomorrow. So see you later, everyone.